all of that going on against them, they still had a chance to win that football game. And they basically lost because they didn't have the right kicker in there. And the guy shanked that kick in overtime. And then one thing that we didn't get to talk about because we were actually on break is I thought that was Kyle Shanahan, one of his worst coaching jobs and worst decisions, because the 49ers got the football back and really could have just run the clock out and taken the tie and kept Seattle a game and a half back behind them. And instead they let Seattle get the win, get the ball back, and let Russell do Russell Wilson things and beat them. I thought, Eric, that was just a horrible decision at that point. And he had some weird decisions in the Baltimore game as well. But I think just in the bigger picture,
fair point. I agree.
To go into Baltimore, a team that's red hot, you've got the MVP candidate now, and he is by far and away the front runner. He's almost minus 300 to win the MVP. The Ravens have been the toast of the town. And then to go in there and hang with them, jump up on them early in not the greatest conditions, not in your home stadium, all that stuff, and just to lose in a last-second field goal. I think 49er fans have to feel good about this team and where they are. And like you said, we continue to talk about the NFC East just because it is a fascinating story. But
it's not fascinating. It's discouraging.
But I think when you look at the fact that these teams are going to beat each other's brains in week 16, and they're going to be like, oh my God, we won on wild card weekend, we have to play the 49ers. I mean, they're going to be one and done. There's no way one of those two teams are going to beat this 49ers team.
Not a chance.
They don't have the defensive units that are able to, they're going to be able to slow this team down in terms of what they can do, even in the run game. I think the 49ers are just going to pound the ball down their throat and control the ball against either Dallas or Philadelphia. And again, look, the Niners play Seattle week 17. So they're both got some tough games remaining, but that game could really decide at that point, potentially who's the 1 seed and who's going to the 5 seed, or at least maybe the 2 and the 5 at that point. So I just was really impressed with what the Niners have been able to do. I think they have just been the most consistent team that I've seen, because even a team like the Saints that they're playing this week, they had that game against Atlanta where you just scratch your head and go, how do you lose to Atlanta, a team that we have been calling for their head coach to get fired for weeks now, and you get blasted 26-9, I think, in that game? So to me, Eric, this Niners team, the talk has just been Garoppolo. Do you trust Garoppolo? So do you trust him?
Well, I would say if there's a guy that you maybe don't trust, it could be him, because we talked about in the preseason just how bad he's capable of looking. I mean, the guy threw 6 interceptions in a row at practice one day before the season started. I'm pretty sure that you, your brother, me, Julian Edelman, if he goes back to quarterback, wouldn't throw 6 interceptions in a row.
1 star.
But, you look at then the switch just got flipped in week 1, and he looked like a totally different guy. So what scares me is if he's put into that position where the stress is there. Now we're in the playoffs. Now we have a lot of expectations. Do we see preseason Jimmy G, or do we see the guy that's played relatively good football and solid football for most of the season, 90% of the year, I would say? I don't know. And so am I going to put money on him? No. Am I going to trust him? Yeah, I'm going to trust him because they're 10-2 and will probably finish out. I would probably say 12-4, somewhere in that range. And look, if they do what you said they might be able to do, which is to come down to the end of the year and then beat Seattle, now they are in a different position, because them as a division winner, that means a whole lot more to them getting, potentially a first round bye. There's so much that could happen there that it's a big deal for them and puts Jimmy G in a better spot. But for him to make a long run in the playoffs, I'm not going to say I put my trust in him, especially when you look at the other teams that could potentially be in there with an Aaron Rodgers, a Drew Brees, guys like that who certainly have more experience. But this season overall is going to be considered a win for Jimmy G and his experience level, because it just makes him that much better going into next year.
Yeah, I think that was going to be my point, was just the other names once they get into the divisional round, and you could potentially, you're going against Rodgers, you're going against Breeze, you're going against Russell Wilson, guys that have been there and they've done that and they have the pedigree and they have the resume, and Jimmy Garoppolo just hasn't had those opportunities yet. It's not to say that he can't do it. It's just that we've not seen him in the position to do it. But I also think on the flip side, he's got far and away the best run game around him. So maybe he doesn't have to do as much. He just has to manage the game. We saw Peyton Manning win a Super Bowl with a really good defense, not that great of a run game, and just an offense that could really move the ball and not really turn it over, get him a field goal here and there, get a touchdown. They weren't putting up 30 points a game, but they found a way to win Super Bowl 50 with that way. So we've seen it. It's out there, especially in the playoffs. All these teams that are scoring 30 and 40 points a game, that typically doesn't happen in the playoffs. Everything slows down for these teams. So I don't think that really that trust factor that people talk about, can you trust them? It may not even matter, because if you can run the ball, if you can control the clock, and you can put all the pressure on Breeze or Rodgers or Russell Wilson, where they're having to throw the ball all the time and they can't stay balanced, they could have the same issues. So, Eric, I got to commend you. I really wasn't sure you would be on this show, because not only did one of your teams choke on Sunday in week 13, both your teams may have had two of the worst losses possible. So I didn't even bring up your Jets in the AFC. They gave the Bengals their first win, by double digits. And then the Philadelphia Eagles do the other improbable thing of the week. They lose to Miami after being up 14 points. So, Eric, here we are again. The Jets are out of contention in the AFC East. I don't have to bug you about them and get you upset. But your Eagles sat on Thanksgiving, eating some turkey, watching the Cowboys lose and open up this division for them. They go to Miami and they lose to Ryan Fitzpatrick and this Dolphins team. How you feeling now, 4 or 5 days removed from that?
Did you really want this episode to have the explicit rating content? Is that what you were looking for here?
Hey, because I'm the director of content, so I have content sitting here. So yeah, I got to get your opinion on that. How much stuff did you break Sunday?
A lot. Get your beat button ready, buddy, because no, here's the thing. I mean, and I have one of my good friends that is just riding me all the time about being a better fan of my teams, whether it's the Penn State Nittany Lions and how pissed off I am that they're 10-2. And he's like, well, that's a good season for the Lions. I'm like, no, it's not, because as a Lions fan, they're going to be with a good head coach, like a Paterno was, or like a Franklin is. They're just going to be 10-2 every year. And at some point you get tired of that, because they're going to lose to Ohio State most times. They're going to lose to Michigan probably,
I thought we're talking about Michigan there for a second.
4 times out of 5. And then this year they decided to dump their season against Minnesota right before Minnesota went on the tank. So Penn State that's just what you get out of them. And I get tired of it. So I roll my eyes and I get negative about it. I've been the same way about the Eagles. And in fact, he just texted me tonight. Here we sit recording during Thursday Night Football as Dallas is on right now. But he texted me and said, hey, if Dallas loses tonight against Chicago, then Philly has another chance to tie for the division lead. I'm like, do you want me to send you the middle finger now or later in our text? Because I don't care. It's not a consolation prize to me that Philly can go beat up on a Giants team that, Eli Manning might actually be playing again because Jones is injured. And if they win and become 6-7 and they're tied for the division lead, I'm supposed to be excited about that? Heck no, I'm not excited about that. The Eagles suck. They so far underachieved this year that I don't want to have anything to do with them. I don't care if that makes me a bad fan or not. Carson Wentz, the running game, the receivers, everybody else is to blame. The defense is absolutely just atrocious. I don't even care anymore, because this season is a total waste. I don't want them in the playoffs. I don't want them thinking that they have a chance in the wild card. Meanwhile, they go get blown out by 30 points from Seattle or the Niners or even the Vikings or whoever, because that's what's going to happen. The Eagles suck. And I don't care. I don't care who disagrees with me on that. Now, you're exactly right. I sat there last week, though. Dallas loses to the Bills on Thanksgiving. I'm going to eat more turkey. I'm going to have more pie. This is cool because we're playing the Dolphins on Sunday, and we lose. So forget it, Eagles. I don't care. You just waste every single opportunity that you have. And the Jets, don't even get me started, because you want to talk about the most underachieving piece of crap coach, Adam Gase. He should have been fired this week. He wasn't. And so Woody Johnson and the Jets can go suck a hind tit, because I do not care about the Jets right now. You cannot go and lose to an 0-10, 0-11, 0-12 team, whatever the heck the Bengals were. I don't even know. They're so terrible. And that's the game that you let the Bengals get their first win against you. Gase is a joke. That guy should have been fired immediately after that game. So the Jets, nothing but a underperforming joke. And the Eagles, again, just underachieving, total disaster. Couldn't care less about the rest of this NFL season. So I'm interested in the stories of the NFL. I'm interested in Lamar Jackson, even though I'm not a Ravens fan whatsoever. I'm interested in rooting for Patrick Mahomes just because I like to see him play. I'm interested in the Niners playing well or whatever. But as far as the NFC deceased, as we said last week, I'll wipe my butt with newspaper that those standings are on because I couldn't care less.
Well, folks, fortunate for you, the way that the Dallas Cowboys are playing, you're going to get this content from Eric probably every week going forward because this division is going to be up in the air, I believe, until week 17 because as we sit here recording this show, Dallas has found a way to make Mitchell Trubisky look like, I don't know, an actual competent quarterback because they're now down 17-7 at halftime, which is going to open up the door again for Eric to be disappointed and let down by his Eagles again throughout this year. And then all we have to do is just get this to week 16 where they can go in and start to believe that they can beat Dallas and then see what happens. Do either one of these, does anybody want to win? Washington, do you want to win the NFC East? You are out of the playoffs in terms of a wild card, but you can still win the division. So Washington Redskin fans,
isn't that a joke?
Get the pom-poms out. You might be able to win this at 7-9.
Do you realize what you're saying right now? That's how bad this is for the Eagles and the Cowboys now.
I kind of want to see it happen. I mean, I think that would be the greatest story of the NFL year if somehow the Washington Redskins, who are as incompetently run as any franchise in all the four major sports, found a way to win this division at 7-9. To me, that would be just the icing on the cake of this NFL season. I mean, it could not get any better than that.
You know what? Tell your brother, who I believe is a Redskins fan. Is that right? So tell him.
I think he still is. I think he's a season ticket holder. I'm not really sure though. Ticket holder,
but he's always trying to sell him. But tell him officially, as of right now, if Dallas loses against the Bears, I will root for the Redskins the rest of the year.
Well, I'm sure he can send you a shirt. He's got a lot of them. So, Eric, you sent me a very interesting tweet as we get to our final story of this week, and that is the NBA and the fact that their ratings are down and down pretty significantly this year across all of their major viewing networks in terms of ESPN, TNT, NBA TV. And it's not just a few digits as people tend to freak out about when NASCAR has it. They are down in the teens and even 20+% in terms of their ratings, which seems crazy because there is so much time spent in terms of sports talk radio and the digital media and the Twitter world. I mean, NBA Twitter is its own thing at this point. And yet the ratings are still down, even though it's a topic of conversation literally nightly with all the news that's out there. So you sent it to me. I've got some opinions on it, but I want to get your thoughts first of just why are the NBA ratings down when it seems like there's a plethora of stories that are out there to follow?
Ooh, this is really a loaded question, isn't it? Because we both love the NBA. I mean,
Can we blame LeBron though somehow?
Well, I think we can.
Yes. All right, I'm in.
Yeah, I think we actually can. And blame him in the sense that he went west. Now, look, I realize he went west a year ago, but the Lakers were awful last year. They were really never in the playoff hunt last year. And so I would say from where I sit as a huge LeBron homer that the Lakers and LeBron were a non-story last year. And so you're really still only measuring LeBron's team being in the West Coast and him coming off of, 14 years on the East. And the fact that the Lakers games, when the Lakers are now, as we sit here on Thursday night, 19-3, but who's staying up till 2 a.m. on the East Coast in New York City and Miami and Cleveland even, and people who would be fans of, let's say, LeBron, me, I'm not going to stay up till 2 a.m. and watch LeBron play basketball during the regular season. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, LeBron. It's just not going to happen. But I think that's only a part of it because you have other stars like Durant who have come east and just aren't on the floor because of injuries. So you've got major players like that who either are West Coast and the large markets on the East can't follow that. And then you've got other stars coming east who are injured. Then you've got the Warriors, the team that America loves to hate. And well, it's too easy to hate them now because they are literally, and I mean that the correct usage of the term literally, not the way that the high schoolers use it now. They are literally the worst team in the NBA. So no one's loving to hate